there, YouTube. This is Vargas XX78.
Hello and welcome. My name is Dyz69
And this is episode 2 of the Super Vargas Brothers Audiocast. Here again with another topic. And the topic for today is actually a topic that by now is old news, but it's something that I wanted to talk about with my bro. And that's the recent troubles and news from Konami. Now, for anyone that hasn't already heard about this, Konami has been in problems in the eyes of video gamers ever since the announcement that Hideo Kojima was going to leave the company after Metal Gear 5. Which is understandable because Konami has really just locked him into doing Metal Gear. And Hideo Kojima worked on a whole bunch of other projects for Konami. The ones I remember most were, and enjoyed the most, were Zone of the Enders. Loved the both Zone of the Enders on the PlayStation 2. He also worked on some really cool vampire games on the Game Boy Advance and one on the DS. But he was sick of working on Metal Gear. He wanted to do something new, so he announced that he was going to leave Konami. After that, the next big thing for them was that they canceled Silent Hills, which is a work that which is going to be a new entry in the Silent Hill saga, but with Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro working on it, and the guy from The Walking Dead. So that was supposedly the big thing for Konami, and well, now they've announced that they're going to cancel that because issues. And the big thing, the final nail in the coffin, is the news that Konami will no longer develop games for consoles. Much like Sega, they're going to focus 100% on mobile games. But the thing that sucks and everyone is understandably upset about is that they're going to focus on mobile games, but using the pay-to-play platform and microtransactions. Which is a big gripe that we talked about in fighting games, that microtransactions should not be in console games. That is just another quick cash grab that the companies are starting to use, and if we as gamers don't put a stop to it, it's going to become the norm. So, I don't know, what do you think about the whole Konami issue, bro?
Well, in my opinion, honestly, Konami for me was long gone dead for me, since they haven't been making any good games. Like you mentioned, with the whole, and the only games they come out with is the usual ones. Either Metal Gear, they actually made like an HD remix, not remix. They like reboot. I forgot what it's called, but they put up again the Son of the Enders games. I believe on the PS or on the Xbox. They had the Castlevanias, but which, by the way, the Castlevania is good, but it's not the legacy. It's not the Metroidvania style. It was a new one they did for the Lords of Shadow series, which I've not been able to play the second one. But between the first one and the one I played on the 3DS, which was later downloadable for the Xbox, the whole story doesn't have that same charm. It plays a little bit the same, but it's lost some of that charm it originally had. And I didn't know why until I noticed that the creator of Castlevania, which everybody just calls him Iga, left Konami. And now Hideo Kojima is following the same. He's also leaving Konami. Then this whole PT being taken down with the Silent Hill. And I mean, just like you, that's just putting a nail in the coffin. But for me, Konami started to lose its relevance. They haven't even done a new Contra in a while.
Yeah. I talked about this on the Vargas Vault Facebook page that Konami just had this great legacy and they took a dump on everything. They haven't done. I think they did a sort of Contra. Spiritual successor as a downloadable game on the PSN. And that's the only thing that they've done. Before that, there was Contra 4 on the DS. They haven't done anything. Not like the Castlevania ones. The director Iga, after the failure of Castlevania Judgment, they had him working on mobile games, and he was like sick of that. I don't want to work on mobile games. He actually started a Kickstarter for the spiritual successor of one of his Metroidvanias, which like really fast got its goal, and now there's going to be Blood Moon, I think it's called.
Blood. Shit, I think it was Bloodstain.
Bloodstain. Yeah, that was going to have, alchemy elements, and you can forge weapons. It's just a Metroidvania game, but without the Castlevania name. And that looks really interesting. Hideo Kojima said he was going to work on his own project, so, I understand that, these great artists don't want to be bogged down making just corporate cash grabs. They want to do something original, and Hideo Kojima again worked on so many cool games, and now it's he's stuck on Metal Gear, and he doesn't want to do that anymore. So I understand him leaving, but I just question a lot of Konami's decisions, and I'm pretty sure it's the stockholders, just like with when Nintendo announced that they were going to go mobile, not in the same degree as Konami, of course, but it's just stockholders and people that think that these easy ways of getting money with the microtransactions and the pay-to-play things is not something that I personally want in my games, and it's something that's really worrying me on where the gaming industry is heading. Konami, this whole Konami thing really hurts because they had so many cool games on the NES, so many cool franchises, and they experimented with a whole bunch of different things. Same thing with the Super Nintendo. They made some awesome games on the Super Nintendo. 64, they did a couple of games that I liked a lot. Hybrid Heaven is one that comes to mind, done by Konami. Castlevania 64 has camera issues, but I enjoyed the music in that game, and the atmosphere on the game was pretty badass. On the PlayStation 2, they developed a bunch of other games. I enjoyed the Castlevania games that released there. Nano Breaker I thought was pretty cool, and Portable, Konami made some awesome games on portables. So just to see them squander their legacy and again take a dump on the hearts of all the fans is really upsetting to me.
Yeah, it's kind of bit like the issue that Capcom was going through. That they even announced that they were selling like their stocks. That if it wasn't for PlayStation helping them with the Street Fighter 5, they probably would have continued with that. But between Capcom, Square Enix, and Konami, they're doing some pretty ridiculous decisions, and sometimes even Nintendo is doing the same dumb decisions. But
Yeah.
They can afford it. Basically,
Yeah.
they can afford to make mistakes, but these guys can't, and they're still doing it. Capcom finally settled down, and they're just focusing on the new Street Fighter. But Konami canceling games, losing co-workers and developers, they're really going down, and it's a shame because between Konami games, there's also a few games that I know that they made, especially for the N64, which was going to be included in one of my games that we mentioned on the list, but it was Goemon.
Oh yeah.
Then you also mentioned one on the Facebook page, which was Gradius. That one
Gradius,
really,
yeah.
that one's really good, and I haven't seen any other kind of shooter games made in that style, but at least with that upgrade mechanic. So there's a lot of Konami legacy games that will now be lost, and we'll just have to wait for a spiritual successor.
Yeah, because either that or going to be, free to play. Like, for example, Gradius. Pay to play, I'm sorry. You'll start off with a ship, and every upgrade's going to cost you real money, and that's going to suck. Or Castlevania, if you want the Fire Whip, guess what? It's going to cost you money. Or Metal Gear. Oh, you want the box? Well, that's going to cost you money. Or stupid things like that. So it's really, really annoying. Gradius, the last Gradius game I think I heard about, I don't know if it was the PlayStation 2 Gradius or the one that came out on PSP. But that's the last thing I ever heard of Gradius, and just a real shame about this whole Konami thing. And that brings us to our topic. Our top well, the topic that I wanted to talk about with my bro here are the top 5 gaming gripes or complaints of modern gaming. You know, all these new things that um, mostly are killing the industry. You know, companies like EA started doing it, and now, you know, because it worked for them, now everyone's doing it. Freaking Ubisoft did it with one of their newest Assassin's Creeds. Capcom's been doing it with their fighters. Now Konami, and just, you know, 5 things that personally have annoyed me, and I don't know if my bro might share with the same thing. Bro?
Yeah, I'm here. It's just that, oh, speaking of which, on our previous videos, we referred to one of our other brothers named Alpha. He's actually right here behind me.
Yeah.
And he's also explaining his part, but I don't want the audio to get mixed up with what he's saying with yours, so I have to mute myself.
Oh, okay. I thought I lost you there because we're talking through the internet, so you know, we're trying to work with the unstable Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But so I thought I lost you there. But yeah, just 5 gaming complaints that you know, this new modern generations have brought with them, and that I personally feel that they're really affecting the video game industry, affecting gamers in a way, and you know, honestly, if this stuff doesn't get in order, it's gonna cause another video game crash, I think, and that's something I don't want to see again. So you want to do your first 5, or you want me to start off?
Might as well go. I'm gonna again, no particular order, but the one I place in my number 5 is less physical copies. Mainly because most of these games now are going digital, especially with the whole indie service being all digital. But most of the games now, they no longer make physical copies. The only way to get them is through purchase them on the marketplace. I believe, you know, just like newspapers or even the manuals of games, now they don't make them anymore, which loses, you know, those box are now really start losing their touch because they don't have a personalized manual, and sometimes you would feel that you kind of paid for that and now it's really not there anymore. So slowly they have less content, and I don't doubt that eventually they're gonna stop making physical copies, and it's all gonna be digital, which is gonna be a pain in the ass with all of this DRM and the limitations that consoles and companies are placing within their discs, forcing more on the DLCs or forcing more on the season passes, or pretty much having an online connection at all times to be able to play it. Otherwise, the disc won't work with some things like that. So I am quite worried about the physical copies being less now, and if they even stop production at a late, much more quicker than they used to do before. So that's one of my gripes, that physical copies are getting harder and may not stay as long as they are right now.
Yeah, and as a collector, that's something that also worries me, because I grew up in the days where the box art was beautiful, and the instruction manuals had the story, because of the limitations of video games way back when. And you couldn't really tell a deep enough story with the game because memory space was so valuable. So the instruction manuals would tell you the story, would introduce you to the characters, the bad guys, and some instruction manuals are beautiful to look at. They're like a mini book on itself, and like you said, that's gone. That's gone. Everything's now, in the disc. Sometimes, and yeah, there are some awesome games that you can download, but then when they're taken out of the store, you can't get them anymore. Like, for example, I purchased Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the PlayStation 3, and now you can't re-download that game. There's no way that you can re-download that game at all. And I have it on the Dreamcast because I bought it out of from Alpha, our bro. But I honestly like the HD look of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the PlayStation Network, and now you can't get that anymore. And so, as a collector, I do worry about that too. And because there's no way to preserve once one of those games is downloaded, deleted, and taken out of the store. So yeah, that's something I didn't think about, but yeah, that's a big worrying issue.
Yep.
Well, my number 5 gaming gripe complaint is there's no new original IPs. Again, I grew up in the days where you had a plumber, a hedgehog, a bandicoot, and all these different original characters in bright, colorful worlds. With your platformers or even your RPGs. And you could find a game of anything. You could find platformers, puzzle games, sports games with cinematics like Tecmo Super Bowl, games with ninjas like Ninja Gaiden, and there was so much variety in the games. You can find a game that might look cartoony and childish, and it would be super awesome. And nowadays everything is sequels. Sequels of grimy, gray, brown, first-person shooters, or freaking Assassin's Creeds. Now there's like a billion Assassin's Creeds. Everything's too realistic, and while I appreciate some games looking beautiful, like I'll admit, a Call of Duty game looks beautiful in graphic-wise, and it's a fun game to play, but I miss bright, colorful games. Like, that's one of the things I love about Nintendo, is that all their games are bright and colorful and cartoony and beautiful. The only modern game that comes close to that is the Ratchet and Clank series, which is why I love that series so much, but now, they haven't announced anything new from that company, so I miss bright, colorful worlds. I don't want super realism. I live in a real world. I want to escape into a fancy, different world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean, and that's one of the issues that not much. Well, I'm scrambling because there's a lot of things I want to say about that. The original IPs, well, that's kind of hard to do nowadays because most concept ideas, it's kind of been like The Simpsons. It's been done already, so the best you can do is to improve upon it. But you're right that there's a lot of focus on, redoing, making spin-offs, or just continuing the series. Assassin's Creed being one of them, Call of Duties, Madden's, Gears of War, and this whole graphic issues of somehow people wanting to have realistic games now, to look as high polished and detailed as they can be, which is pushing the market and the company to go that way because it sells and numbers count for them. But at least with the whole Kickstarter, with the indie game developers, especially the indie game community, that's where you'll find these IPs and these colorful worlds, which is why I didn't add that kind of annoyances in my list, because they are still around. They're just not as popular as the AAA games we're seeing.
Yeah, and they're downloadable only on some of the cases. You can't get a physical copy.
Yeah, which is why I put that one on.
Yeah, yeah, but that's something that just really, really bugs me. Again, the only modern, not counting Nintendo, anything Nintendo does is great. But from the Sony, the only one I enjoyed because of that was Ratchet and Clank, and I haven't heard anything new from them. I've heard nothing from a new Ratchet and Clank game, and that worries me. That they might actually kill the last bright and colorful world that they had. But that was my number 5. No new original IPs, and I understand. I mean, Capcom made a statement that said that they weren't willing to risk developing a new IP if they weren't sure that they're going to sell 1 million copies. And that's something really hard. A lot of companies aren't willing to take a risk on making a new IP for fear that people might get into it. But if they focus less on realistic graphics and focus like they did way back when on making the gameplay fun, like again Nintendo has been doing, then it would sell. Word of mouth would get away, and like with Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight got great word of mouth, got great reviews, and now people are interested in that kind of game. So I think that might be something. Make it the game fun and don't worry so much about graphics, and then you can go back to taking risks, and we would have all these original characters running around again.
Yeah.
So what's your number 4?
For my number 4, I have. Which we touch upon this a lot between our last 2 videos, but this one's regarding DLC. But on certain games, especially the example that you mentioned at one point is microtransactions, making it ridiculous, charging you for certain things that really shouldn't be necessary. Now, some games are doing it right, where it's still there. I mean, you can still get it yourself. Purchasing only speeds up the process, basically, and it shows support to the developers rather than just being annoyance. But on other games, which are mostly the free-to-play, but Nintendo actually worded this perfectly, free to start, because the only way that you can finish it is if you actually buy what you need. Another known category of this is called pay to win. This is mostly seen on MMOs, where if you want to win fast and get really good at the game, you better buy that super weapon that you need, or extra characters or extra equipment. All of that is just like willing the player to buy these things if they want to succeed at the game that they like, or the previous Capcom games, where this is where they were starting to go down. Asura's Wrath is one of the ones I really enjoyed, but the true ending was sealed behind the DLC content, and that's the one that bugged me the most. That in order for you to actually finish the game, you had to buy the ending, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, they did something like that with one of the Final Fantasy 13. I think it was the second one, where you also had to buy the ending, and that's even worse. I mean that you can't finish the game unless you buy. I remember Angry Joe doing the review on Asura's Wrath and being super pissed that he couldn't finish the game because you had to pay for the freaking game ending. So yeah, that's something really, really stupid from companies are starting to do. Even the multiplayer also, in some games, if you want to play multiplayer, you have to purchase the online pass. So that's also something stupid. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I have to start playing a video. So
yeah, but that's something that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all. And back in the day, you got the game, you paid your $60 for the game, and you played it, and if you got stuck in somewhere, you would practice it and you practice it, and you would win that way. But now they're making people lazy, like we mentioned in the fighting Audiocast, that they're just making lazy people and lazy gamers.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my number 4 might surprise you, but it's something that I do want to talk about, and my number 4 is online multiplayer. Again, I grew up in the days of arcades, and if you wanted to play games with someone, you would sit next to someone and play 2-player games, or 4 players on the N64, and you would have a lot of fun, trash talking the person next to you, or going to arcades and talking with other people on how to do the special moves and stuff like that. And the online multiplayer has it's connected more people abroad, but it's also kind of kept them separate, if that makes any sense. Because you can connect to a whole bunch of people online. You can, be playing someone in Mexico, play someone in the U.S. and I don't know, Japan at the same time, but everyone's alone. You know, you're not interacting with anyone next to you. You're talking through a headset, and you're also talking trash, but there isn't a sense of, you know, companionship. There's no sense of community. There's, you know, everyone's sitting alone in front of their console and playing, and that's something I think it's kind of sad, because, you know, that's something was great growing up. You know, me and you guys would play video games, and we would, you know, taunt each other, and you know, even just watching Alpha playing, you know, his video games and beating Mega Mans. It was an experience watching Alpha and just play through Mega Mans. He was awesome in Mega Man and the Castlevanias. And I remember when we rented Castlevania Dracula X on the Super Nintendo, and just watching him get to the end and not being able to beat freaking Dracula because that game was freaking hard. But that's something that you're losing. You're losing. I mean, now you can watch Let's Plays, you know, but it's still not the same. You're not interacting with someone next to you, and that's something I think that online multiplayer is killing. Like in Wally, you know, everyone's stuck in front of their computer and they're not talking with people next to them. I mean, it's great, but it's also something. It's alienating people, I think.
I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, it's kind of hard, because in my situation, I didn't grow up on that. I did went to a few arcades and see people playing, but I'm not the kind of person that, at least back then, that enjoyed watching others play. I wanted to play myself, and I got this a lot, especially with Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which only had 2 save files. I had to watch you and my bro play, but I didn't want it to watch because it would spoil it for me. If I do ever get the chance to play, I would already know what to do, which would ruin the fun for me. Another thing was Pokemon. I only had 1 file, and those were your games, so only you would play. You did allow me to play sometimes, but everything was finished, so I didn't really experience anything about it. So with online gaming, which for me was really good, because I didn't have that many friends to actually go play with, and when I did, that's when I agree with you. You know, that felt amazing. We played Smash, we played Mario Party, but you can't always be with your friends to play games when you want to play. But having this online community, well, you can actually play with people who wish to play at the same time. You do lose that connection that, you know, sometimes you don't really speak to them. You don't know what they're doing, but you still feel like you're part of the team and you're doing something. In fact, thanks to online gaming is how I met my girlfriend. So if that didn't exist, as you say, and it's ruining something, I wouldn't have met her. So that's why I do appreciate it. I mean, I do understand that online gaming, in a sense, is taking that experience away, because there's less arcades now. But they still exist. There's arcades. I think there's one in Chicago. There's people where they can actually join in communities to create that same feeling that they had in the past. So it's not lost. It just does take more work to get that same experience, but it's not all lost. And I, for one, appreciate online gaming.
I don't know. It's just that some of my favorite memories are when we all get together on Christmas or New Year's, and we would play, I don't know, Rock Band, or we would play recently UFC, or last Christmas that we played, last New Year's that we played Smash Brothers and Call of Duty. But, you know, all of us, all 4 of us, and I miss those. Actually, I miss those. I would like to, you know, get everyone together and play some more games, but. Even friends I used to hang out with, we would, you know, go to a friend's house and play Rock Band, and, you know, have a few drinks, have a pizza, and just, you know, play the hell out of Rock Band. But, you know, that's just my personal gripe. It's just something that, I don't know, I enjoy playing online, I'm not gonna lie, but I do miss, you know, having someone next to me and, you know, trash talk other players or stuff like that. I don't know. It's just something that I don't agree with that much. But what's your number 3, bro?
Alright, my number 3 is it's Ironically, the most one that this affects is PlayStation, and it's the constant updates. I say this because the last time I tried to play PlayStation 3, which my brother has brought over to the house, it had to update the video game, the disc itself. It had to update the console, which takes forever. Then it has to update while already in the game the things that it downloaded, and that just dismotivated me. And then I go to the Xbox, oh, it's just system update. So all of these consoles are, even recently I had a chance to play the Wii U, and same thing, updates. There's a lot of updates nowadays. Now, this is good in some way, because the updates to the games is to make them better, or to balance out things that, cost a negative gaming experience. So they're patching those stuff up, and in a way it does show that, the developers care for the games, fixing these broken things. But to someone who just wants to put in the game and play it like we used to, it does get really annoying just having to constantly waste 20 minutes of your already short free time to update.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to that topic because that one's also on my list. But yeah, it's very annoying when you want to get home. In my case, I want to get home from a long week of work, and I want to pop in a game, and I pop in the game. Well, in this case, the discs, and a new update is on, and I have to wait. Depending on how my Wi-Fi wants to act, it might take 5 minutes. It might take 10. It might take a freaking hour for the stupid update to finish, and again, not to sound like a cranky from Donkey Kong, but in my day, you would get the game as is. It would either be a very good game, finished completely with no need of patches, and you would enjoy it a lot, or you would get a crappy broken game. But that's why you would go with companies like Konami or Capcom or Nintendo. That they would put the effort on really bug testing and proof checking everything, so you wouldn't get a broken game. And even then, I remember in Club Nintendo magazine, they had a couple of articles where they would show you how to get some funny ass bugs. That's something also cool, that you could explore the game to your heart's content and find all these things that the programmers might have missed. And that was a game on itself, finding all the bugs or all the funny things, or seeing how you could crash the game yourself. And nowadays you don't have that. All these patches get rid of that, but those things shouldn't be there in the first place. I mean, companies rush their games out, and they don't give a crap at whether it's broken or not. They want your money, and then if it's broken, they'll patch it if you're lucky. If it's one of those companies that just doesn't want to invest time on patching it, then you're screwed. You got a broken game, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Sonic Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole debacle with that Assassin's Creed game that at launch had a whole bunch of games, and they patched it and it crashed the game and the save file, so they had to do another patch. So yeah, that's another thing that just is stupid in modern gaming. Okay, so that was your number 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, my number 3 is one you already talked about, DLC. I do not agree with companies that have everything in the game and then you have to pay to unlock it. Again, back in the days, you didn't have any DLC. You got the game as it was, and by either replaying the game or doing certain challenges, you would activate stuff in the game, and it was already there. It didn't cost you a damn thing. You would pay your $60, you would get everything, and if you dedicated yourself to playing the game, you would unlock cool extras. Nowadays, no, lazy people again. You can just pay your money and you can unlock everything. And then, what's the point of buying a game? What's the point of sitting down and playing a game? You just pay your money and that's it. And then, ironically, some people do that, and then they leave the game behind and watch people play it online on YouTube or Twitch. Seriously, enjoy your game. That's the fun thing about being a gamer. And DLC there are some improvements. I'm not gonna lie. Like Nintendo, I'm not happy that Nintendo has falling into that. But in the case of Mario Kart 8, you can buy for $12, 8 new characters, 16 new tracks, and a couple of costumes. That's $12 for half a new game, and that doesn't seem like a bad price at all. And same thing with Smash Bros. Well, Smash Bros. $5 for a character seems a bit too much, but it's what Capcom would charge you, so it's the standard, I guess. But Nintendo has to be careful because they might fall into that DLC trap too, if the stockholders get their way. But yeah, DLC. I don't agree. If it's brand new DLC, cool. But if it's something that's already on the disc, like we touched upon before, no. So that's my thing. But we already talked about DLC. What's your number 2, bro?
My number 2, and it's just a personal gripe. Not really sure how common it is, but the fact that there's no fast retry button. For example, you're doing a challenge and you lose. You have to watch the game over screen. You have to reload the checkpoint, or in some cases, select your load file just to try that challenge again. They're making you wait longer to do. To try again at a certain mission. And one of the examples is Bloodborne, at least recently, because they still haven't patched it. That you die trying to defeat a boss, you have to wait for the loading screen, you have to walk all the way over there again to the enemy, and it's just making the game longer because you can't retry to get to that place faster. And I don't get it, because they used to have that fast retry button before. You would die instantly, and while the game over screen was showing, it would already give you the option to quickly retry. Now with loading times, it's become an even bigger pain in the ass, because now you have to wait for loading, then you have to walk again, just so you can die again, and it just makes a more frustrating experience.
That one's not that bad, because that's how it used to be. Like, perfect example, Ninja Gaiden. On the NES, you would die and then you would get sent all the way back to the beginning of the level. And so that one, that's not that bad. But they did fix it on, for example, the GameCube or the PlayStation days, where yeah, you could die and then you could just start over. But again, that's just something that I guess people forgot that they could do, and they were like, fuck it, just let them suffer.
Yeah, actually, no. Now that you mentioned Ninja Gaiden, not entirely. As long as you have lives, you would start on a pretty reasonable checkpoint.
Not in the last level, bro.
Ah, now you're being specific. You didn't say last level. But yeah, I was just about to say that. They throw that out the window on the last level. But other than that, Ninja Gaiden is pretty fair, even when you die. You only get sent back to the beginning if you get a game over, but you have lives. And you're right, the GameCube and the PlayStation had that quick retry button. Now recently they just forgot about it, and now it's more annoying. But as I mentioned, that's just a personal gripe with me. Which is a new gaming annoyance, that there's no faster reload. You have to wait in order to get another chance, and that's really frustrating for me.
I think that depends mostly also on the game and the publisher, because right now I'm playing through the first Uncharted game, and in that game, which is a PlayStation 3 game, you would die, you would get the cinematic of watching your Drake die. And then you would get sent right back in before the spot where you died, the last checkpoint. So I do think it depends whether or not the company is being an asshole and just wants to make people suffer to extend the life of their game. That way a 6-hour game feels like a 12-hour experience. But yeah, that is something that I don't know why some companies stopped doing. It was bad back in the old days, but then they fixed it, and now it's bad again. So yeah. Okay, so that was your number 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, my number 2 is online only options. such as characters that you can download online or options that you can only play online, like for example multiplayer. The reason for that is because, like I mentioned on on the fighting audiocast, the first one, I bought Marvel vs. Capcom 3: Fate of Two Worlds, and right now I've unlocked all the characters. I'm only missing Jill Valentine and Chiguruga. Chimagura. I don't know. It's a weird name. And I can't get those games because Capcom lost the license to publish Marvel games, and they took down from the store those two characters. So those characters are lost, like we mentioned. Also, games like Destiny, for example, that have very heavy. They have no story mode, and they have very heavy online options. If that game fails and the servers go down, guess what? You're not going to be able to play your game because it doesn't have a single player experience. It's all online. And also, for example, UFC 2010, you can't play online anymore because the servers are down. You can only play local, and as I mentioned with my number 4, it's very hard to get people together nowadays to play locally. It's everything's online, but if the servers are down, you're screwed. You can't play anymore online. Somewhere down the line, the same thing is going to happen with Call of Duty. They're going to focus on PlayStation 2. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They're going to drop the servers for PlayStation 3, and you won't be able to play any more Call of Duty online. So those online only options, I think, are really bad. I don't know what you think.
I hate that too. Mainly because one of the recent games that actually got that kind of like block was Soul Calibur Lost Swords, which was on my brother's PlayStation. It was a free-to-play game, but you have to be connected to the internet to play it. So just like the example you're setting, if the servers drop for that, well, you're screwed. You can't even boot up the game. There was also another game that they offered for free on the Xbox, which was The Hand of Kul, or Kol, I don't know how to pronounce that. Same thing, you needed to be in the internet to play it, and I did manage to play it and beat it, because it was a fun game, but they took that game down on the Xbox, so then you couldn't play it anymore, and I had to delete the game, but that is very bad. They shouldn't make a game focused on online only, because first of all, not everyone has online, and second of all, if anything happens to the servers, you just know that game one day will be useless.
Yeah, that's something that they gotta fix, because they have to understand. I mean, here in Mexico, we have internet, but it's not good internet. I mean, nothing compared to what you get in the U.S. or Europe or Japan. If you're lucky, you get 10 megabytes, and that's it. Wi-Fi, it drops down a lot more because, people might be stealing your Wi-Fi if you don't have a good security. So your Wi-Fi drops really bad, and if you need to have online to play the games, you're screwed. There's no way that you can play your game. The damn things won't even boot up because they're not detecting internet signals. So that's something that's really, really stupid, and they need to fix fast. Otherwise, what if there's this doomsday scenario? Nothing really bad, but what if for a day something happens and all the Wi-Fi servers crash, and it's going to take months to get them back online? What are people going to do then? They won't be able to play anything online or do anything.
Yeah, which screwed by them.
Yeah, well, unless you have retro games. If you have retro games, then you can play that, but these new generations don't. Well, that's not true. A lot of people are starting to realize how fun old games are, which is why old games are demanding so much money. But yeah, they gotta fix that fast. Okay, so that was number 2. What's your number 1, bro?
This one, unfortunately, because I put my list not by order. My number 1 is Lowling, which, come to think about it, I kind of wanted to think of something better than that, because Lowling is just, as I started to actually understand more of game development, The only reason loading happens is because the memory of video games is a lot more now, ranging from 8 to I think even 12 gigabytes. When they used to be just megabytes, and NES, actually, in fact, the entire NES library can fit probably in a single gigabyte. So, um, I kind of want to change this, but unfortunately, we don't have the time for me to think of a better one. But the loading in video games is one of my gaming annoyances. As as I mentioned, my number two, it just slows you down. If you're on a roll and you want to get back into the game, loading screen will kill you. Or just waiting for the game to boot up, you have to go through so many loadings. And I may understand it now, but it doesn't stop it from being annoying. But unfortunately, it's kind of a weak number one. But and I already talked about it, so I'll just leave it at that.
No, it actually makes sense. Again, like you, I didn't understand why, like for example, why PlayStation 1 games took so long to load. Like I just thought the PlayStation 1 wasn't that good. Then again, thanks to Club Nintendo, I read an article that it loads because the game has to boot up all the levels and the graphics and the music and the story. So that takes memory space. So that's why there's that loading. So everything can get boot up. And if it's a big, graphically heavy game, then you need that loading time. Thankfully, that's for the most part, again, depending on the company, gotten a little better. Load times haven't been that bad. There are, of course, companies that, again, just don't give a crap and their loading times are eternal to extend the life of their video game. God forbid that you have an online-only game that has to load while it's connected to the internet and then the internet crashes, because then you're screwed. But yeah, loading screens, again, much like you, since now we understand why those happens, it's understandable. But thankfully, I do think it's gotten a little better than it was way before. For example, play a Wii game, it doesn't have that much loading. It does have loading, but it's not that bad. Same thing with Ratchet and Clank or Uncharted. There's actually, I forget what game it was, but I remember that, I honestly can't for the life of me remember it, but you could play mini games while the game was loading. I remember that. Maybe I'm mixing up the games, but I remember that on the loading screen you could shoot the screen while it was loading. That was fun, it helped you kill the time. And then there was another one that you could drive a little ship while the thing was loading.
I don't remember the ship. I remember the shooting, because that was Devil May Cry.
Oh yeah, Devil May Cry, yeah.
And also some of the Resident Evil games allow you to shoot the umbrella logo.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, I wish more companies would do that. It would keep you entertained while the whole game's loading. But other games masked it pretty well. Like you mentioned, Resident Evil, when a screen would load, the door animation would happen. So there were ways to mask it, and but there's nothing worse than seeing a freaking loading screen just very slowly fill up while you're doing nothing and waiting for the game to load. That is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, my number one is one that you already talked about, so I don't think we're gonna talk too much about that. But my number one complaint and gripe of modern gaming is game updates and game patches. Like I said, there's nothing worse that you buy a new game, you're super excited to play it. It's a game that's you've been waiting months for its release, and you put it in, and the system asks you for an update. Once the freaking system updates, then the game asks you for an update. Okay, the game finishes updating, and depending on your Wi-Fi, it might take 5 minutes, it might take a whole hour. If you buy a used game, and there's like 20 versions of updates, then you gotta wait a good half a day for that to upload. I bought Grand Theft Auto 5, and it literally took me a day for the damn thing to update. And even then, on the PlayStation, once that's updated, if you want to play online, guess what? The online has to update. The freaking trophies have to update. So you bought a game, and it's at least a good 4 days before you can actually sit down and play the damn thing. And that's if it works. If in day one, like Assassin's Creed example, it has all these bugs, well, guess what? You have to wait. You can't play your game until the freaking publisher releases a patch to fix their broken-ass game. So that's another week that you lost, and, that's just something dumb. Again, way back when, you would either get a broken-ass game, or you would get a good quality game right off the bat. They would work. Companies would even delay a game, which is something you don't see anymore, except Nintendo and some companies. They would delay a game to fix all the bugs, and even then, like I said when you were talking about it, a few bugs would get away from them, and people would hunt down the bugs and then talk about them, show other people how to get those bugs. But now that just takes too much time away from gaming. It's something that really bugs me, and I don't see how they can fix that. Even Nintendo, who's a company for the most part, they publish complete games. Even when they release a DLC, even if it's a free DLC, it tends to bug out their games, like with Mewtwo. Anyone that played Mewtwo and used one of his special powers online, that would cause a bug that would block internet connection to you.
Kind of right, but it wasn't like that.
Well, that's what I read on the event log, that if you use the special move online, except for Smash, but if you would use it in one of the special Smash or one of the online games, the game would register that as a cheat, and then it would kick you off the internet. I never did it. When I downloaded Mewtwo, I only used it for Smash. I didn't even think of using it for any of the other game modes.
I did, but I think that was only an issue with the Wii U, because as soon as I got Mewtwo, I played them on the single or classic mode and all-star mode, and I didn't got that issue, which I'm glad, because I would have been angry with it. So it was probably stronger on the Wii U version, but yeah, that is bad. In fact, the same thing happened to Peach on the launch day of Smash Brothers, because she pulls out turnips, which the game registered as cheating, because you're not supposed to have items, but that's her special move.
Yeah.
So, people couldn't use Peach online because they kept banning them, so they had to fix that.
Yeah, there was also another issue I read. I didn't experience it myself, but that if you played online and you would only focus on one person, then the server would also, it would misinterpret that you're focusing on one person as cheating, and it would block you. I can barely remember Alpha Omega Sin talking about that bug that happened, but that's another thing I had. But like I said, even companies that for the most part proof check the hell out of their games tend to experience those things, in these newer consoles. And I honestly don't see any way of preventing game updates and patches. It's just something that I personally hate. I desperately hate game updates and patches, but it's something that unfortunately is going to be the norm. There's no way to avoid stuff like this. Especially when you integrate online options, which was another gripe that I mentioned.
Yeah, just to conclude, you're right. There's no way to fix it, because people want updates and patches for their games when it gets broken like that. And because of those that demand, every time you pop in the game, you're gonna have to get slowed down by an update screen. So as long as people demand for new content or bug fixes, those updates and slowdowns are not going to stop. They are truly going to be the norm, and which is the downside of actually this is a whole combination of everything we talked about: DLC, no physical copies, the rolling screens, all of that adds up to that people want their games to be fixed or have more stuff on it, so you gotta wait for the updates to be complete, and for those people who wanted it, which is not bad, but yeah, it's, like you said, it's not the same as just popping the game in and playing it.
I will say this: there is one good thing about gaming updates and patches, and that's when people start hacking online games.
Yeah.
When people start hacking online games, and you encounter, I encountered this more on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
That you would encounter some really bug-ass hacked games that, you know, you would fight against a team and they would be unkillable. Or, you know, you would encounter a team that with one shot would get a whole bunch of points and stuff like that. Patches, which is the only good thing I will say about this, patches fixes and stops those kind of hacks until the people bypass it again, and then you have to release another hack. But that's the only good thing, that they do prevent hacks in online games. So it definitely has a very big downside, but I guess there is some good out of updating their games.
Yeah. For me, it's just adding something new, because when you finish a game and you unlocked everything, there's nothing else for you to do. You move on to the next game. But with these kind of updates, well, they add a new stage or they add a new character for you to play as. So that's the good stuff about it. I mean, there are good things about these updates, but you know, it's still a little bit of a slowdown. But it's all a matter of patience. As long as the extra content they're adding is good and not just a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, that was the top 5 gaming complaints that me and my bro have on modern gaming. Some of these things, there's honestly no way I can think of to prevent or fix. The only one I can think of is the original IPs, which thankfully people are starting to demand, which is why we're getting Ukulele. I hope that gets a physical copy. And Nintendo, again, thank goodness for Nintendo, because they're the only company that, you know, everyone complains about there being a kiddie platform anyway, so they can be like, yeah, we're a kiddie platform, that's where we're going to release whatever the hell we want. And now we got games like Splatoon, which honestly, it looks beautiful and it looks like a fun ass game.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of negativity on this. Do you want to talk about something positive?
Not really, because one of my bros is, well, Alpha went to sleep, and I have to sleep too and take a shower.
Ah, come on, man. Weak. Well, I'm gonna go on a happy note, saying that I'm glad that there are, even though I don't unfortunately participate in Kickstarters, but I am willing to help out and, you know, buy new IPs to get everything going. And again, thank God for Nintendo, that is the only company really that's willing to take risks. Even though they get a lot of hate, they're the only company that are willing to take risks on games and, you know, provide new IPs. Or even twists on IPs like Hyrule Warriors. That's a twist on their classic Zelda franchise, and honestly, it's a fun ass game. It's really, really cool. And so yeah, hopefully other companies will follow suit. The only reason I haven't bought a PlayStation 4 is because there's really nothing on that console that, you know, would merit me buying a PlayStation 4. And I have so many games on the PlayStation 3 to buy that, you know, I'm happy with the PlayStation 3. But yeah, that was kind of a downer topic. Hopefully next topic will be better. We'll talk about something fun. Alright, well, I guess this is our very short audio cast, at least shorter than our last ones. Like always, thank you so much to anyone that watches this. Thank you so much to anyone that hears us. Like always, if you can leave a comment, you know, if you don't agree with us, type in Y. If you agree with us, type in Y. If you can give a thumbs up, that'd be cool. But till then, until we see you all again, this is Vargas XX78 thanking you and signing out.
And until next time, take care and have fun playing.
Alright. Later, guys. Bye, bro.
Hey, bro.